There has never been and never will be anything fiscally responsible about threatening to refuse to pay America's bills. Killing millions of jobs is not fiscally responsible. Neither is knowingly unleashing a recession or purposefully disinvesting in our nation and its people for years to come. I had hoped that when the Speaker referred to the budget process and the debt ceiling as, quote, apples and oranges, it meant Republicans finally understood the real-world ramifications of reckless brinkmanship. After all, as Ranking Member McGovern pointed out, former President Trump once said recently, quote, "I can't imagine anybody ever thinking of using the debt ceiling as a negotiating tool." Republicans claim their draconian spending cuts are the only way to pay down the deficit. This is false. The President and congressional Democrats have already achieved historic deficit reduction, and we have done it without sacrificing Americans' health and well-being. In fact, the President's latest budget, which he unveiled in my district on March 9th, reduces the deficit by another $3 trillion over the next 10 years, while still making responsible investments to improve Americans' quality of life. But instead of working to responsibly raise revenues by closing the tax gap and ensuring the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share, Republicans are here to let those tax dodgers off the hook and instead impose extreme and devastating cuts at the expense of working Americans. This bill does not simply, quote, roll back spending, as some would have you believe. The bill amounts to the biggest single cut to non-defense programs in our nation's recorded history. First, it demands an immediate cut of at least $142 billion to the vital services and protections Americans value, need, and deserve. And then it hits even deeper, imposing trillions of dollars of devastating cuts over a decade that disinvest in our nation and its people. By capping key investments in our economy and Americans' health, safety, and well-being at unworkable levels for an entire decade, resources in 2033 would be lower than they are today. Republicans and all those supporting this piece of legislation are knowingly kneecapping our economic potential and undermining our ability to meet the needs of American families now and years to come. Republicans took our economy hostage because they know their extreme agenda is deeply unpopular and dead on arrival. This Default on America Act is also DOA, and we all know it. There's no way Congress will coalesce around 10 years of destructive caps and cuts in exchange for staving off default for less than 1 year before we have to go through this cycle yet again. The Republican majority could put an end to this entire fabrication